Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestaya Te.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestaya Te.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestaya Te.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestaya Te.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayana,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayana.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasade Gaur Bhaktavrinda.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Gaur Bhaktavrinda.
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Madana Mohana, Jaya Gurudev,
Haribol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Gauranga,
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gauranga,
Jaya Jaya Srila
Haribol
Prabhupada,
Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Gurudev,
Haribol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada,
Haribol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Gurudev,
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda,
Haribol Krishna,
Paramahamsa,
Haribol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda,
Haribol Krishna,
Paramahamsa,
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestayate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Namine, Ora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestayate.
Haribol. Haribol Namaste. So I'll read here Lord Krishna's instruction to all of us from the teachings of our instructing spiritual master, our spiritual master. So prior to this, I'd like to say something about Lord Krishna's discussion with Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. It is about how one relates to the Supreme Person. Because here in the Philippines, all of us, we acknowledge and we know and relate to the Supreme Person, God. But as far and how we relate to Him and how we're very close to Him, we need more wisdom, knowledge coming from someone who is His confidential loving servant, how to relate to God. Because the way we relate to the Supreme Person, according to our conditioning and different modes and capacity, is according to the influence of the modes of material nature upon us. It is about wanting something from God, wanting to be protected. It's natural for us. Don't you notice that all of us here, we go to the place of worship and we pray, please protect us. But have we ever asked this question? Let me love you. Let me know more about you. This science is discussed and addressed by the pure loving servant of the Supreme Person, the saintly person, the spiritual master of Gurudev. So here, I'll read this. Lord Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, as one surrenders unto Him, that individual is rewarded accordingly. So those who worship the demigods goes to the certain planet where the demigods live whom he worship. Okay. Those who worship the ancestors goes to the planet of the ancestors. Those who worship spirit goes to the planet of the spirit. Okay. And those who worship Him with love and devotion, they come to Him. So that is the science we must understand clearly in our endeavor, in our practice. So we can be with knowledge and be assured if we're making progress towards serving and loving the Supreme Person and getting to know more about Him and how to relate to Him. So the best example who teaches us how to relate to the Supreme Person with love and devotion is God Himself. He came as Lord Chaitanya to exhibit His loving relationship with the residents of Vrindavan, the cowherd girls, and also to open to us the science of love, which is completely opposite to what we know as love in this world. Because love in this world is simply based upon selfishness, our own interests, what we can get, and the person whom we relate is also like that. And not only that, it's based upon illusion because it's based upon material consideration, based upon false bodily identification. So the love has been transformed into and contaminated by the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. But we can see here that in our lives, we can see that love is selfless. But when we discuss about or talk about love that we read from romantic novels, romantic movies, it's all about selfishness. It's all about enjoying the senses and a direction of one's affection towards this material world. So they equate love with sexual contact. And it's about blood, semen. So here we will discuss what is pure love for the Supreme Person, transcendental to this material conditioning. It is about our eternality, it's about life, it's about what is eternal and what is not touched by the modes of material nature. That's why Saint Prabhupada advises us to learn this science from someone who is a pure loving servant of the Supreme Person, who has no material consideration, whose character is not doubtful, who is not a fool, number one, who thinks himself is God, and whose process is the ascending method through the limited senses, through the mind, and in illusion, and a world of cheating and lying. So that path will lead us to nowhere because it is simply the burden, the shackle that will be the burden we'll be carrying. You look closely, what burden are we carrying? It's not the body. It is what is in our mind. It is what our goal is. For example, if our goal is simply sensual enjoyment, then we will be focusing our meditation upon acquiring material things, thinking that yes, it will be my shelter. But look closely what's inherent in this consciousness that has been contaminated. It is lust, and it is based upon sense perception, the soul, you, me, seeing this world as an avenue for the field of activities, this body that I can enjoy. So it ends up, I experience frustration, anger, envy, and greed. Whenever we see someone, because of this contamination of material disease, we're not able to see the spirit soul. We only see someone who will take away what we think is our possession that gives us enjoyment. So we carry this load every day, and the effect is fear in our hearts, uncertainty, And we hardly get out of this limbo or shackle because it's a load that has trampled us. How to get out of this is the process that Lord Chaitanya is giving us, the chanting of the holy names that purifies our mind, our heart, from focusing upon this material energy which is dominated by Maya or illusion, wherein when we try to divert our energy to accumulate, to get something for our own self, based upon material consideration, enjoying the senses, just simply ourselves, then we experience this contamination, this burden. So everybody is motivated to follow the dictates of the senses, driven by the mode of passion. So our love has been forced, has been geared towards that world of burden, lust, anger, greed, envy. So we're burning. That's why this body is described like a burning forest. We're burning. Seemingly, you're calm with a nice dress, but deep. But if you look closely, you have been so much immersed and encumbered and shackled and trampled by this load we're carrying. So we want freedom and we struggle for survival. But the wrong direction of survival is based upon what we think falsely as eternality in this body. And the body is temporary. That's why we're always anxious. It's the struggle for survival with the load of experiencing the pain, the load of anger, lust, and greed. So let's talk about another world, the world of love, pure love, unadulterated, not touched by this material world. So I'll read here Lord Chaitanya's coming here, because Lord Chaitanya made it that show to us the power, not just the power of the Supreme Person, the power that will purify this lust, and this lust transform into what is inseparable from us. Unadulterated, pure love in harmony with God's pleasure. That's why for so long we've been teaching, we've been reading about realizing one's identity. You're not the body. Because that is the beginning. No way we can understand this science if we are still contaminated with material consideration and false bodily identification. We will become sentimentalists or sahaji. We take lightly this relationship with the Supreme Person and we try to ascend. We try to grasp it with our senses, which is contaminated. So there is a science that has been given to us by the bona fide saintly person, spiritual master. The science of devotional service begins with hearing, chanting, remembering. So the sound Krsna, the spiritual master is there. The whole spiritual world is there. So when we speak about God, we refer to the qualities of God, Lord Krsna, the all-attractive Supreme Person, defined by the Vedas, by God Himself. All the attractiveness that you see here, even you are, all of us, we're attracted to life. But because of false bodily identification, that attraction to life has been deflected, directed towards the body. And it's a wrong formula because it will be the source of our burden. every day of our life. So we must be the witness, the driver of this body, the king of this kingdom, and be able to see through the doors, through the senses, what has been covered, what we're longing, and we ask this question: how can we get in touch with this eternal, transcendental world of life and love? Because that is what the living entity is all about: life, love, loving service. But because of this contamination of false bodily identification, it's very hard for us to enter the transcendental world. But through the guidance of the spiritual master, Lord Krsna, we can enter that world through their blessing. Because Krishna knows our heart. He sees us. So if one makes this effort to pray, to dedicate one's life to do what is pleasing to God, and take shelter in humility with this attitude of humbleness, to be protected by God's love, then one can make progress, especially guided by the spiritual master, whom teaches us how to relate to the Supreme Person. So Lord Krishna tells us this in Bhagavad Gita: in whatever way my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pirtha. So the question is this: we are eternally the loving servant of the Supreme Person. By nature, we will always be engaging in our true nature as servant. The question is, what will we do? Will we be serving material nature and be selfish to serve our senses, and in the process be enslaved and be covered by the modes of material nature and be driven by unlimited desires, and we drown in this ocean of matter, which is the desert, lifeless, and we think there is happiness there? Look closely, open your eyes. We don't have time, the luxury of time that we misuse. If we don't understand this science and apply it in our life, then we lose this opportunity. While we're traveling in this planet Earth, we are all traveling, and time and tide waits for no man. So all your plans in this world, all your idea of shelter, protection, an empire, because everybody wants to be God, to be king, to be dominator. The empire you're trying to build in your mind, driven by desire, by this false lordship, will be a failure in your endeavor, because you're in the wrong direction. Is it clear? So, if you try hard, very hard, you lose, because you're in the wrong direction. It's like one time, because my teacher before, it's like spitting against the wind. All your saliva will just splash back on your face. Okay. In whatever my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respect, O son of Pirtha. So that's the point I'm trying to discuss. If you don't engage in your natural tendency to serve and love Krishna with this wisdom, with the process we're given, which is one's heart inclination to serve, and directed upon pleasing God, then you'll be forced to serve God also by being enslaved by material nature, the modes of these three modes of material nature. So meaning you'll be servant of your desire, because your goal will be an endless futile attempt to grasp all the desires with the promise, if I do this, with your own speculation, if I get this, I will be happy. So that person is always burning, anxiety, fearful, envious. That is the load we carry when we are not under the divine energy of God. So everybody follows God. The question is, will we follow Him according to what He wants? Or we want to just do our own sin and the Supreme Person is just there. We're just, he's just somebody there while we're trying to get away from this drowning, miserable world. Our face, we the person, we're looking at this temporary dead world with all the glitters thinking, wow, this is it. Okay? Or we will be experiencing this connection of this our faith, our interest, our endeavor, our goal, which is a longing to do what is pleasing to the Supreme Person and praying to Him to please protect us, embrace us, allow us to serve Him. So we have this choice. So now look closely with the opportunity you're being given. You're all Lord. You want to have a kingdom, an empire you build with your outlook according to the influence of the mode of passion, goodness, or ignorance. Every day of your life, every day of our life. We're eternal, and we ask this question, where am I heading if I follow the dictates of the modes of material nature and the desire? Where will you be going? Then you cannot get out of this struggle for existence because you'll be drowning in this ocean of misery. You'll be carrying that load. So if we simply look and turn our face towards Krishna by listening to His instruction, guided by the instructing spiritual master, who is not different from Lord Krishna, the Lord within the heart, and hearing from someone like Saint Prabhupada, our Gurudev, who is an empowered living entity, Sakta Avatar, our Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, the Lord from the outside, the Paramatma from the outside, who confirms what we hear from the Lord within the heart, who gives us blessing and guidance. So Lord Krishna's teaching that if we approach someone, His representative, then we are blessed to receive God's care and love through the guidance of someone who is inseparable from Him, our Gurudev. So I'll read this teaching from Lord Krishna. Krishna was never ungrateful to the gopis. For as he declares to Arjuna in this verse, in Bhagavad Gita, he reciprocates with his devotees in proportion to the transcendental loving service they render unto him. Everyone follows the path that leads towards him. But there are different degrees of progress on that path, and the Lord is realized in proportion to one's advancement. The path is one, but the progress in approaching the ultimate goal is different. And therefore the proportion of realization of this goal, namely absolute personality of Godhead, is also different. The gopis attain the highest goal, and Lord Chaitanya affirmed that there is no other method of worshiping God than followed by the gopis. So we chant every day, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayanya. I worship Lord Chaitanya in the mood of loving separation of the gopis. And we offer our respect to our spiritual master, who is the loving servant of Lord Chaitanya in the mode of Radha and Krishna. So to enter that world, we must follow this path, this bhakti yoga path given by God Himself. And the process is the chanting of the holy names, the Mahamantra. So I'll read here Lord Krishna's Pastimes, wherein this relationship sung by the gopis. Okay. One gopi said, "My dear Krishna, ever since you took your birth in the land of Brajabhumi, everything appears to be glorious. The land of Vrindavan has become glorious, and it is as if the goddess of fortune is personally always existing here. But it is only we who are very unhappy because we are searching for you, but cannot see you with our greatest effort. Our life is completely dependent upon you. Therefore, we request that you come again to us." Another gopi said, "My dear Krishna, you are the life of the soul of even the lotus flower that grows on the water of the lakes made transparent by the clear rains of autumn. Although the lotus flowers are so beautiful, without your glance, they fade away. Similarly, without you, we are also dying. Actually, we are neither your wives nor slaves. You never spend any money for us, yet we are simply attracted by your glance. Now, if we die without receiving your glance, you'll be responsible for our deaths. Certainly, the killing of women is a great sin. And if you do not come to see us, we die. You will suffer for the reaction of sin. So please come see us. Do not think that one can be killed only by certain weapons. We are being killed by your absence. You should consider how we are responsible for killing. You are responsible for killing women. We're always grateful to you because you have protected us many times. From the poisonous water of Jamuna, and from the serpent Kaliya, and from Bakasura, from the anger of Indra, and the torrents of rain, from the forest fire, and so many other incidents. You're the greatest and most powerful of all. It is wonderful for you to protect us so many dangers, but we are surprised that you are neglecting us at this moment. Dear Krishna, dear friend, we know very well that you are not actually the son of Mother Yasoda or the cowherd man Nanda Maharaj. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the super soul of all living entities. You have, out of your own causeless mercy, appeared in this world." So we have this longing for happiness, longing for fulfillment. Have you seen a drowning man? A drowning man? The most important factor that he needs is air. So this science can be understood when we are one-pointedly in the direction of longing to please and love the Supreme Person, just like a drowning man wanted air to survive. So look closely how far we are, our focus, our meditation. So when we chant the holy names of the Supreme Person, we become purified from all these misgivings. We're able to see ourselves. We're able to watch the mind, the intelligence, our direction. And we begin to see how lost we are, how drowning we are in this ocean. We have no shelter. And Lord Krishna gives us this shelter, guided by the Paramatma, the instructing spiritual master, and his dear loving servant. So the more we follow the process, we become enthusiastic. We begin to persevere, to engage in austerities, to carry on with the process that has been given to us. And when we chant the holy names of the Supreme Person, the more we begin the liking to chant. Our tongue, our mind begins to chant Krishna, Krishna, and the tongue never stops chanting. So when one makes progress in this path, he is protected by God's blessing and the spiritual master, who is his well-wisher. In our endeavor, in this material world, in a struggle for survival, we have no shelter. We are burdened, shackled, and we'll just get kicked out of this world of our illusion to thinking that we have this empire. It's like, the body is made of building blocks, atoms. What we do now, we have this body, And we try to also protect our empire by accumulating more building blocks in different forms and not understanding the truth that this world is transforming into different forms. The form that you think is your shelter will be turned into another form. That's why Maya has tricked us. The greatest cheater. Okay. You think you are smart, but you have been tricked already. We have been covered by this illusion. Because our direction for shelter is based upon this temporary moving world. We see the spirit soul, we relate to the spirit soul temporarily. My wife, my son. We give our love, our effort, and in ignorance, we fail. Because what we are longing for is deflected upon the body and the soul, the spirit soul, who is not self-sufficient, who is also under the control of the modes of material nature, according to his karma, will also travel in this universe as we are also traveling. So, how can we be protected in our travel? To be under the shelter of Lord Krishna. So when we speak of loving service, can we have this relationship, our affection repose directed upon the Supreme Person? Yes. While living in this material world, we can be on a transcendental, loving relationship with the Supreme Person, and we persevere and engage in austerities, meaning sacrifice, to be able to cling more, to want more. We have this longing for this service as we are in this material world experiencing all this burden, but the burden anymore is not following the dictates of Maya or illusion, but rather directing our life to do what is pleasing to Lord Krishna. And we see all these encumbrances, all this dictation from the modes of material nature, the influence upon our body, then we don't waver to take shelter of the holy names because we feel we experience this humbleness. I am so small, I cannot hurdle it. But my Gurudev, Krishna, promised that if I take shelter of him, I will be protected. He will protect me. So simply this meditation gives the living entity us this assurance from God himself that we will be protected, and we can in our daily life experience this reality. In our endeavor to please God, we experience all the hassles, all the threefold miseries, the influence of the modes of material nature. But we don't waver because we fall upon the feet of Lord Krishna. Please protect us. Please protect me. And that is the meditation of the devotee who wants to be close with the Supreme Person, because that attitude of humbleness is what our spiritual master wants us to be protected with, because from that point, we can always remember the Supreme Person and follow the chanting of the holy names. It becomes our life to chant. And when we chant, we experience this longing, this wanting more to do what is pleasing to Krishna. So it means we're able to hurdle the influence of the mind, the desires, because we're able to see the desires, because the mind is temporary. So we can direct now the mind for our own benefit to please God. We can use the intelligence to do what is pleasing to the Supreme Person. We can now deduct, dissect, and weigh. If I do this, is it pleasing to my spiritual master in Krishna? We have this now foundation with what we're doing. It's not a struggle anymore for survival, but rather a foundation for what we're longing for. Every time we make decision, every time what we think, what we do with our lives, with our time in this body, will it make me closer? Is it pleasing to my spiritual master in Krishna? And not only that, our spiritual master gave us a process, the eternal process of embracing Krishna, the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Our grandfather, spiritual master, the spiritual master of our Gurudev, his life, the love of his life, his protection, he introduces us to him because he's the one who passes on the holy names. And our spiritual master, out of his kindness, passed to us the holy names, Krishna. So what we should be doing is simply following faithfully the instruction of the loving servant of Lord Krishna. Because that is Lord Krishna's instruction. There is a saying, for example, if somebody asks you are serving someone, and that person asks you, kindly please give me a glass of water. And you're thinking, I'm gonna give him a glass of milk. Is it pleasing? No. He's asking for a glass of water, you give him a glass of water. Our grandfather, spiritual master, tells us the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So all what we have been reading, what we've been hearing, we will enter the transcendental world that is beyond the material senses, because it will be a connection with our love. We relate to the Supreme Person with our heart, our love, our life. That is why it is a meditation of devotion that is inherent in all of us. So all the living entities, all of us here, we're divine, we're godly. But the question is, are we in that direction? What stops us? What forces us to be diverted? So with the science of understanding our eternality, our absolute position, and our eternal engagement to render loving service to the Supreme Person will be our eternal direction based upon the teachings of our Gurudev. So we are all eternal. God is eternal. Eternality is inherent with the spirit soul. You're all eternal. The question is, where will we be directed? Who will direct us? What will be our goal? So, all this, what we see with our eyes, material things, economic development based upon material things, social programs. What's that all about? Programs of this world. Capitalism, communism, philanthropism, all of these are materialism. It has nothing to do with the eternality of the spirit soul. It is what has encumbered the spirit soul because of the influence of material nature. So that's why the living entity, you, me, we must be guided with eternal wisdom, that we are eternally the loving servant of the Supreme Person, and how to relate to the Supreme Person is a relationship of our love, our heart. And that is achieved by chanting the holy names. So when our Gurudev give us these holy names, we are not separated from the transcendental world. But the more we chant, the more we become purified, the more we're able to experience this faith. Not faith from the mind and our power, but faith upon the Supreme Person that eradicates this, material covering of not seeing God. The mind can be our friend, but it can become our enemy because it will, under the influence of illusion, the modes of material nature, our faith can be diverted. We will not have this fixed, pure faith that my love, my heart should be and will be eternally a loving offering to the Supreme Person by following the instruction that has been given by the saintly person. Confirmed by Shastra or scriptures, by God Himself, when He tells us, to those who constantly engage in my loving devotional service, they'll come to me. Just remember me. To those who remember Him with loving devotion, they come to Him. So that is the world of the devotees, the living entities. But here, we're drowning. We're all blind, actually. You think you can see? We're all blind because we see through the faculties of these material blind eyes, influenced by the modes of material nature. And we think we're intelligent. We think we're bright. Bright eyes. Who's bright eyes here? Bright eyes like, you're seeing through the eye, the life, the spirit soul. You're hearing through the ears. So, if the focus is seeing and trying to grasp what is different from you, then the blind becomes covered with blindness. The cataract of materialism. You know what's cataract? The mud. If there's cataract already, you put more mud. Okay? And how do you get it? By hearing from those old blind people. This is what you can get. Tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. Okay? You hear, the more you get blind. Blinded by those who are also deaf and blind, who are groping in the dark, who are drowning. But they think they're, oh, I'm great, I have money, I have the power, I'm Zuckerberg. Okay? My spiritual master was one time asked this question. My sister is dying. What can I do? How can I help her? And Srila Prabhupada said, you're also dying. All of us are dying. We're going to leave this body. So it's not her problem, it's also your problem. So is it clear? So it's an opening for us to make a choice now while we are given this opportunity. Not on, I will follow this path when I am already leaving the body. Okay? When death comes. But we're so ignorant. We're dying every moment. Death is already there. The moment you're born here, in this body, you're already dying. Your baby body is dead already. Your young boy's body is dead already. Your young man's body is dead already. My middle-aged body is gone already. And this old body now. Yeah. Sometimes I go to places, Before, people come, tay. You say tatay. Okay? Now, lo. Okay? Then you begin to say, what am I doing here? I'm gonna leave this world anytime. But because we have faith, we're given this blessing and guidance. And when we embrace this, we take seriously. Take seriously. Be grateful. Okay? Of relating to someone whom Lord Krishna loves so much, our Gurudev. Okay? We must feel this humbleness, feeling lower than the straw in the street, more tolerant than the tree, and devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. Then we can see, not with this blind, bright, dazzling eyes of blindness. Haribol, namaste.
Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prastayate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prastayate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prastayate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prastayate.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya.
Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayana, Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayana.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shiva Satyagur Bhakta Vrinda.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shiva Satyagur Bhakta Vrinda.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Krishna,
Madana Mohana. Hare Krishna. Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namaste. Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prestaya Te